Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the hope of the brave.
Good evening, and thank you for your hosting this event. Very important to get out to the neighborhoods. I'm Tony Pagano. I'm a lifelong resident of Yonkers. I lived in the 6th District for 40 years, married to my wife for 43 years. I started my career in Yonkers as a sanitation worker. I put 3 years on sanitation and 29 years as a firefighter. I became union president after 6 years, and then became the commissioner for 9 years, 14 years as union president. I've been in the chambers of the council. When I get elected, I start out running, not tiptoeing, not learning. I know what we need. I know we need to increase the quality of life. I know about public safety. I know what it means when people are yearning for something new, not something old. I'm not holding hands with politicians. I'm gonna fight the fight that I fought for 32 years for you. Thank you.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I'm going to stand up. I can't sit down for more than 30 seconds. My name is Matt Orfici. I'm a lifelong Yonkers resident. Thank you to Elena, Chris, and all of Tucklock. I can say when I first started this out and they told me I was going to knock on thousands of doors, I was a little leery, but honestly, it says a lot to the Yonkers residents and also a lot to this particular neighborhood. Everyone here has been extremely kind, and I've definitely enjoyed my time getting out there and meeting all of you. First, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and then about the vision I have for our district. So for 6 years, I've been on the City of Yonkers Human Rights Commission, 2 years as chair. I volunteered at organizations throughout the city for about 15 years. Spent a lot of time in our schools. I don't just talk about our schools, I've been in them. For the past 4 years, I've mentored a student at Roosevelt, and I'm happy to say he's pursuing his bachelor's degree and graduated this past June. That was opportunity provided to me through an organization called Yonkers Partners in Education. I'm on their advisory board, and what we do is it's a nonprofit, so we supplement the good work that's already going on in our schools without using taxpayer money, which I think is important, especially for us moving forward. In the past 10 years, I've probably coached literally hundreds of kids between my 5-year-old daughter's T-ball team and stinky 15-year-olds playing basketball. As all of you know who've coached, it's great being around the kids and teaching them not only sports, but sportsmanship. I have 2 children who are in the Yonkers public schools, so I literally couldn't be any more vested in success. A 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. I've lived in Yonkers my entire life. I'm not going anywhere. So my vision for the district is to work with the community organizations, work with the homeowner organizations, take advantage of that sort of human capital we have, and be your voice on city council. I understand the quality of life issues. I worry about my children just like a lot of you do. So I want to work with you, work with the homeowners, try to supplement our educational programs without hitting all of your pocketbooks. And thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Again, I want to thank everybody, especially the Tough Luck organization, for having this event. It's very important for you folks to get to know us. What I want to say a little bit about myself is that I haven't been a lifelong resident of Yonkers. I've been here for 30 years, but I've made Yonkers part of my heart because I've been out there working for this community, for all communities of Yonkers, for over 25 years. Now, what have I done? As a CPA, I've learned a lot about people's lives and their issues, and that's part of what I do. I'm a business owner, so I know about you folks that if you have your own business, I know the day-to-day operations that you go through. I have been an education advocate. My kids went through the Yonkers public school system. My daughter didn't complete it. She left, but she went through 10 years of it, and I'm very much involved with it, and I'm still involved with it. As far as community service, I've been a community leader for well over 20 years. I'm currently the president of my civic association, and the bottom line to all of my life work is work. It's just basically that. I come out every day for my community to make sure that I have been going after the quality of life issues. I have been going to make sure that we have the smart development. I was there when there was discussions for Ridge Hill, when FedEx came in, when all the projects that came out there. We wanted to make sure that you yourself would not be paying for any of the goodies that came along there. Now, as far as the education side of things, I was there. I've been there for years and years and years, just going on to PTA meetings, making sure that I've been to numerous Board of Education meetings. Been there, done that, but the bottom line is I am here for you. I've been doing it, as I said, locally in my own civic association. I plan on doing it for each and every one of you. I've enjoyed meeting a lot of you because I've been to a lot of your doors already, and I plan on coming back. And bottom line, I'm asking for your vote tonight, and I hope you'll give that to me on November 7th. Thank you.
So in an effort we are an unbiased organization, so in an effort to not show any bias, we're going to do random order. We have 6 questions. Obviously, everyone's going to answer the questions, so we'll do the same succession, 3 different variations twice. So the first round, the order will be Anthony Pagano, Matt Orfici, and Anthony Moranti for the first round. So the first question is, how will you work with City Hall in our neighborhood to ensure city code enforcement, and what is your plan to keep our neighborhood free of trash? How will you work with City Hall and our neighborhood to ensure city code enforcement, and what is your plan to keep our neighborhood free of trash?
I've worked with City Hall, again, I say, almost 30 years. I've been in the chamber. I've watched what the City Council does. So I already know what needs to be done in City Hall. And what needs to be done is an advocate for the people. I'm sick and tired of hearing Republicans, conservatives, Democrats. We need to work together. We need to form a committee where we all work together and get blinded to what's going on, where Republicans won't vote when a Democrat puts up something to do, when a Democrat won't vote when a Republican puts up what to do. I'm there to represent the people. And I worked under the John Spencer administration when the city looked horrible. We need to get on our people, the workers, the workforce, and encourage them and encourage the people in the neighborhoods to make sure neighborhoods are clean. Because clean neighborhoods, believe it or not, control some of the crime. When people don't respect their own neighborhoods, they don't respect what's out there in relation to crime. So I will be an advocate to make sure our neighborhoods are clean, to make sure our workers put in a good day's work to keep them clean. And again, unlike my opponents, I've been in City Hall for at least 25 years, negotiating contracts, put forth budgets for the fire department, and they were $50 million budgets. Mr. Moranti says Ridge Hill. Well, I believe that Mr. Moranti's manager voted against Ridge Hill. If we didn't have Ridge Hill, your taxes would have went up more than they did. And I think we all enjoy it. We got to keep it clean. We got to keep it safe. And we got to make sure that we work as a team, not as a party, as a team.
Time. So, same question. How will you work with City Hall and our neighborhood to ensure city code enforcement? And what is your plan to keep our neighborhood free of trash?
Right. So, I mean, there's some problems that just don't have an answer to in a night, but keeping the streets clean, we can figure out. As any member of our current city council can attest, I can always be found around City Hall through my volunteer position with the city. So, I've worked with both sides of the aisle. I was unanimously chosen 7-0 to be chair of the Human Rights Commission. So they obviously have shown some support of myself, and they know that I care about the city. What I didn't mention in my initial statement was I'm also an environmental chemist. So trash, quality of life issues bother me. Those are things we can do without around here. Working with the city, like I said, and working with the homeowner groups and groups such as this, those are problems that we can solve fairly easily. So I just look forward to working between City Council and with neighborhood organizations like Tucklock in order to solve those problems.
Thank you.
Okay, first I'll address the question at hand, which is the problem of trash. Now, as far as trash is concerned, let's face it, that, you know, there's just so much one can do, but all we can do is complain and just keep going after and calling up to have people clean up. You know, there's, you know, trash is a personal thing, and people, what are we going to do? We're going to have to go home and spank people and everything? We can't take care of, you know, everybody's problems. But the bottom line is, the city is trying to clean up trash. As a matter of fact, albeit it's going to be a tough problem, they are going to start to put up some lights around here to try to pick up some people in the high trash dumping areas. I don't know how the exact wording is, but the point of the matter here is there is a problem, and unfortunately, the only way we're going to do it is for us to take care of it ourselves. We have to go out and keep our eyes and ears open and make complaints, because that's the only way we're going to get things done. Now, as far as the comment about the manager and the Ridge Hill development, what my manager voted against was not necessarily against Ridge Hill. She was voting to make sure that we did not bear the brunt of the expense. That's what she was fighting about. It was nothing about being against it. It was about protecting us from all the extra work that comes along with maintaining Ridge Hill, to make sure that the owners of the development take care of it. Because just like that, we don't want to be responsible for their cleanup. They should be responsible for their own cleanup, and we have to enforce it. So as far as trash, we need to get on top of the code enforcement people and ask them to enforce the laws. If they don't enforce the laws, people are just going to continue on their bad ways. So as that's the only thing that I can see can happen and the cameras should prevent some of this dumping. The other day, right behind my building over on Sawmill Road, somebody dumped a couch right on the corner of Clement and Horatio. I mean, thank goodness we have a good relationship with City Hall. We called them up, and in a couple hours they came and picked it up. It's disgusting. The only thing we can do is use our voice. Thank you.
Good evening. Starting with Mr. Moranti. What is your position with respect to the City Hall appointments process and nepotism?
The City Hall appointment process, is that the question? Is it the...
What is your position with respect to the City Hall appointment process and nepotism?
Okay. Well, as far as nepotism is concerned, you're going to have to address that with Mike Spano and the people in City Hall right now. As far as my position is concerned, if you can trace every which way you want to go about my background. I have no connections to City Hall whatsoever. No nephews, no nieces, no aunts, no uncles, no brothers, no sisters. Okay, so for me, I have been a totally independent person in this whole process. I don't believe in, I don't believe in bringing family into into City Hall. That does create a bad image. It'll never happen for me while I'm there. I'll make sure that every effort that I can, I'm going to try to prevent that from extending through others. Thank you.
Mr. Pagano, what is your position?
Like I said, I'll come out of the box running. Here's the first thing that's going to solve the problem. It seems nepotism goes and they put people into the DPW. Make it a test. Make it fair. Make it fair for all the children in the city of Yonkers. Make it fair for all the adults in the city of Yonkers. Just like the fire department. You take a test, you qualify, you come off a list. It don't matter who you know. You need to score a high mark to get on that list and to get into the job. So, again, off and running. Put in a resolution that the DPW becomes a test. And make sure that we give a fair and equitable chance to everybody. Nepotism has to stop. You got me full-time. I'm going to work full-time in City Hall. I'm not going to be a part-time councilman. I'm not looking to get anybody a job. I took my test fair and square, scored high enough to get hired, and that's how you could stop it, because there are other positions that are in City Hall that we have to keep an eye on.
So to answer your question, like a lot of things in life, I think this should be merit-based. I know for myself, as a civil servant, I know I had to take numerous tests to get to the position that I am now. Nepotism helps no one, and I know all of you, I've spoken to you at your door. It makes you skeptical of the whole political process. And that is something that I'm going to fight against. I have absolutely no connections. I've been a CSEA 9200 member for 19 and a half years, and I didn't even receive their endorsement. I'm one of you, I'm one of your neighbors, and I'm just here to represent you on the council and not look out for special interests. Nepotism, I wouldn't want my family working with me. I think it's a conflict of interest, and that's my stance on it.
So the next question it will be Matt Orifici, Anthony Moranti, Tony Pagano. What is your position on non-owner occupied residences and maintenance of the property and subsequent code enforcement?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is another issue that I've seen, going around, and I understand how you feel. I'm a homeowner just like a lot of you, and if the place next to you has overgrown weeds and vines and things like that, it not only ruins their property value, but the property value of the entire neighborhood. So I'm ready and willing to work with code enforcement. Obviously, in a perfect world, we all want the owner of the home to live there and have it owner occupied. That's one of the things we need to look out for. In the meetings I've attended with Tucklock, I've also noticed that you've discussed daycares and things like that. So I think we need to revisit a lot of these codes to make sure that the tax-paying homeowners aren't suffering because of someone else's misuse of their home.
Thank you. Mr. Moranti?
Yeah, that topic is a hot button item for myself, because I have been walking around the many neighborhoods, and I have noticed, especially not too far from this neighborhood, especially in the three-family homes, that people are renting things out and not maintaining the properties. Again, you hear crazy stories about people, and then it becomes a situation on well, who's under control of these things. We do have an issue as far as of the enforcement of this, because again, everything comes with enforcement. It's a complaint issue. You're going to have to put it. The building department is going to have to be stepped up a bit. I believe there were 5 new positions added this year to try to alleviate some of their issues. It seems to be that this particular issue, and again, I brought this up to somebody else at some other meeting, that when I went to this nice home on Wicks the other day, and the woman was very responsive and everything, and then at the end of the conversation she told me she's renting. So what's happening right now? A lot of these homes, people are not selling, they're renting, and that's okay if they're responsible landlords. So we're going to have to step up the rules on the maintenance of these properties. And for that matter, who's occupying these apartments, because You know, I was at a meeting and someone said to me, how does a three apartment building house burn down and 40 people get displaced? So there's a lot of things going on around here that we need to nip in the bud, move forward, and make this neighborhood better for the true homeowners. Thank you.
What we have to do is stop passing the buck, and we have to stop saying it's people that are running for office. Well, maybe I can't do something or I can learn about it later. We have laws on the books. We got to get more aggressive. As councilmen, we are responsible. We can walk into the code enforcement office and say, listen, we have a problem at X and X address. We need to get up there. We need to find these people. We need to find the landlords. What we did when I was fire commissioner is we formed a task force between police, fire, and sanitation. And as firefighters, we had entry into these places where people were not, you know, taking care of their properties. And then we can pass that on to the building department, or we can pass it on to the code enforcement department. We have to stop saying it's people that are running it. I don't know if we can do anything about it. It's something that maybe we have to live with. No, we don't have to live with it. You have to have a voice that's strong enough to get these people to go enforce the law and make sure they don't disturb the quality of life of their neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. The next round will be Mr. Pagano, Mr. Orfisi, and then Mr. Moranti. What is your position on the tax cap and exit tax? The tax cap and exit tax.
You know, I believe that tax cap is a deterrent. I'm not saying we should raise taxes, but I think we have to look at it as citizens in the city of Yonkers, and we have to delegate where our money goes and how it goes there. And we can't say we didn't raise taxes and then when you get your water bill it doubled, because they go around to the other side of the basement and raise your water bill. They put a tax on when we sell our homes. So the tax cap is a little bit of a deterrent for a city to operate. But we have to look at better ways to bring in revenues. We have to stop giving the city of Yonkers away to builders and construction downtown. We have to make sure we employ our own people first. People come in here, they build buildings for millions of dollars, they walk away with millions of dollars in their pocket, and they get tax breaks. And who picks up the burden? You, the taxpayer, picks up the burden. We can live with the tax cap, but we really got to get tough when it comes to, you know, improving our city on the downtown, letting these builders build these buildings and walk away without paying taxes.
So the tax cap, what it does is force us to make difficult decisions. As I mentioned, taxpayer, homeowner, just like a lot of you, I have 2 young children who eat more and more every day. I'm part of a union that hasn't been in contract since 2011. I understand just because your taxes go up doesn't mean you're going to make more money. I have elderly residents who live on my street who basically formed that community and made it the community that it is, and we love raising our kids there, and I don't want them priced out. So it makes us, you know, make those hard decisions, which sometimes we have to do, and the only way to change that is to increase our tax base. Now maybe with the developments in Yonkers, we can make up some of that money, but we can't just keep increasing taxes for that. Now as far as the exit tax, again, we have to make up for that somewhere else, because now we rely on it every year. And it's one thing to say we get rid of it, because even though I'm going to be here for a very long time, I'd love to get rid of it as well, because it's a deterrent to people moving here. But the fact is, we have to make up for it somewhere else. And until we do that, then we can't just blatantly say that we're going to get rid of it.
Well, I'd like to blatantly get rid of the exit tax, and that's what I proposed. I would like to start, although I getting feedback from others, but I have already proposed that I would like to reduce the tax cap for those folks that have been living here in Yonkers for over 30 years and are basically retired, or I think we use the age 62 as a starting point. That is definitely something that someone who's worked very hard, paid lots of taxes to the city, should not have to give up a piece of their earnings on the way out. In addition, we want to make it zero if they want to stay in Yonkers, because what we are finding here is that a lot of folks just want to downsize and maybe move in with their kids and stuff, because unfortunately, the two working parent household is what the thing of today. I'm sure a lot of you live it, and they need the help of their parents, and it's very expensive to keep the two homes. So if they decide to sell and stay here in Yonkers, I think that they should be exempt 100%. Maybe we can work on getting rid of it later on, but we can't kill that right away. We have to move on other sources of revenue, which again goes into the development. I'm a big advocate of very smart development. I recently used the example of Lowe's as it's a great thing. It's going to bring in a lot of sales tax. That's the type of development we need here in Yonkers. We need to bring people outside of Yonkers in here to spend some money, create the sales tax base to go up. Stop taxing the base and just bring some new people in and tax them. Now, as far as the property tax cap, I think that's at least it's at least a goal. At least a goal, because what's going on here is if it wasn't for the Republicans on the city council, the taxes would be going up 12-15%. That's just not acceptable to me, and I'm sure to you. So as far as the tax cap is concerned, it's a working base. I believe we should stay within that thing every year. I'm going to work to that. I am going to work to that end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question in order will be Anthony Moranti, Tony Pagano, Matt Orfici. What is your position on the Yonkers IDA and prevailing wage?
Well, my position on the Yonkers IDA, as far as is it combined with the wage, or is there two separate things? Two separate things combined. Okay. Well, as far as prevailing wage is concerned, I'm it's a tough issue. It's a very tough issue. But again, what we need to do is we need to have affordable. Things have to be affordable. And again, for the IDA to come in and they have to bring in certain jobs in order for us to continue to grow. There's certain things that have to be done. It's not a perfect world. I am, I'm like I said, I'm going to be a #1 advocate for the development, because, as I said, this development is going to have to be smart, and it's going to have to bring revenue into our company, our city. Now, as far as the workers, I absolutely want to see the workers come from here. I've done that. I've been there. Again, as part of the Tuckahoe Road Watchdog Group. Whenever we sit down, one of the mandatory things is they sit down with the developers sit down with us, and we do say that we want to make sure that those employees are from Yonkers as best possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Again, we can only do as much as we can. So I am a very big advocate of Yonkers workers, but we have to make development has to be affordable for the developers. Otherwise, they're not going to be here, and we need that starting point so that we can continue to grow.
Sounds like Mr. Moranti's against prevailing wage. That's what I hear. And I am not. Because if we didn't have prevailing wages, you would have these developers hiring people at $10 an hour. And you tell me, can you feed your family at $10 an hour? You tell me. Are you going to get quality work for $10 an hour? You need prevailing wages. You need to make sure that somebody can get a job that can feed their family, buy a home, be comfortable. That's the American dream. Buy your home, live with your family, make them comfortable. We need prevailing wages. What we need to do is get these developers to hire people that live in the city of Yonkers. So some of that tax money comes from their wages. And they live here and they spend it and they go to Getty Square or they go to Cross County or they go to Ridge Hill. So I'm all for prevailing wages. I was the head of the AFL-CIO for 4 years, 90,000 members. There wouldn't be 90,000 workers that live in Westchester County if we didn't have prevailing wages. They'd ship them in from Virginia like they're doing right now. And the IDA should come up with stricter rules and regulations on who we hire and how we hire. And when we say we want union labor, we want union labor because they build quality work. And I'm proud to say we should have union labor. I'm proud of the union endorsements. Mr. Moranti sent out a piece of literature that says I'm controlled by the bosses. What bosses? The same ones he went to try and get their endorsement? The firefighters who look out for your quality of life and sacrifice their own? The police department that are under scrutiny every day and they still go out and leave their families and maybe they're never going to come home? The IDA's got to wake up.
Time.
To a certain extent, I agree with both the candidates up here. We need good paying jobs for Yonkers residents. I think we can't be so short-sighted. The more we pay them, the more they're going to spend in Yonkers. We need people to be able to live here and spend money here. Since Yonkers has gained some traction and there's been a lot of development, we can stop with some of the deals that we've been giving before. I'm sure you're familiar with the pilots, the payment in lieu of taxes. We don't need to do 10-year deals anymore. Yonkers is a viable place to set up a business. And we can cut that to shorter, to maybe 5 years or something like that, because we know Yonkers is on the rise. We have the people to do the job, and we have the human capital, and so let's pay these people the money that they need to live here, and to live well, and to shop in this city, and to live in the city.
Thank you. Next question in order would be Mr. Ortiz, Mr. Moranti, and Mr. Pagano. What is your position on the increase of the red light ticket surcharge, increased from $15, causing the ticket now to be $65? Would you vote to keep this additional surcharge?
I won't comment whether I've ever received one of those tickets, but I can imagine that it is, difficult for everyone. Well, what it is it's a quick fix so we don't raise taxes. So it's sort of I don't want to say it's a use tax because you hope you don't ever use it, but it's a quick fix to raise revenue. I live off Central Avenue. I live near here. You've seen the speeders. You've heard the motorcycles, and I get it. Would you rather your money be spent having police officers sitting at a red light all day, or would you rather have them either on foot patrol or driving around your neighborhood? I would rather have them driving around my neighborhood, keeping everyone safe. Is it a perfect solution? No, but the surcharge is ridiculous. I would try to find more creative ways in the budget to deal with that rather than trying to find quick fixes such as that.
I personally don't have a problem with the red light cameras because they are set up especially for public safety, and that is a key ingredient for all of us. As far as the actual fee itself, again, you know what? Traveler beware. They're warned. People are warned when they come in, and you know what? I'm guilty. I've been victim of a red light camera once. Yeah, it happens. What did I tell you? That's something. You know what? Live and learn. You won't do it again. That's what the whole problem is. So again, it was a very minor situation in my case because it just goes over a certain amount. But again, it has cut down a lot of accidents. So if that's what we need to control people because they can't do it on their own being, then we keep them in place. I have no problem with it. If we get a little revenue out of it, why not? You know, I'd rather it come from people visiting town and finding out the hard way. They'll slow down the next time, and instead of us getting a higher increase in our property tax. Let them pay, not us.
When are we all going to stand up and get sick and tired of smoke and mirrors? They say the red light cameras were for safety. If you really check it out, they've caused more accidents than they've saved. People jam on their brakes. People hit you in the back all of a sudden because you know, oh, the red light camera, maybe I have a red light camera. It's smoke and mirrors to raising your taxes. It's just to bring in the revenue that they could say, we did not raise taxes. And the $15 surplus is again, like, let's not raise your taxes, we'll raise your water bill and we'll raise the red light cameras. You have the bean counters, the pencil pushers that sit in City Hall and say, how could we raise money? How could we fool the public? Public safety, public safety. Everybody's concerned about public safety. Why don't they take that money then and direct it right toward public safety? Find out where that money goes. Find out how many nepotism jobs that money brought in. You find out. It's easy to find out, because if I'm sitting on the city council, you'll know where that money's going. And that, if that's for safety, direct it to safety. Direct it to the police department. Direct it to the fire department. Direct it to the sanitation department. This is what safety is. I don't think any of us would say we're not going to agree to a tax increase if we had a cop on every corner. But we don't. They'll tell you, we're going to bring in more police. And how are we going to do that? Sell cans? How are we going to do that? Push the pencil? Listen, I've been there. I've fought for people. I will fight for you. For you. You won't get smoke and mirrors out of me. I say what I see, and you'll see what I say.
So we're going to allow 1 minute closing statement from each candidate. The order will be Matt Orfici, Anthony Pagano, and Moranti.
Thank you, Tuck Lock, for having me today. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. While I would love for all of you to vote for me, I think it's equally important that you just go out to vote. It's just important for democracy, and it's important for representation. It was nice that you got to, hear a little bit from us, but I think it's also nice that you got to see a lot of your neighbors. For me, that's something that's very important. My wife and I do a little block party every year, and we have the kids put something on the people's door, and it says, do you want to come? Yes, no, or leave me alone. And I'm proud to say we've never got to leave me alone. So people want to meet their neighbors. So I want to be here to represent you. Like I said, I'm just one of your neighbors. I have no connections. I've worked with county budgets. As I said, I'm a scientist for Westchester County. As you can imagine, working capital budgets for science is difficult between instrumentation, methodologies changing. I won't get into all that. So I have budget experience. And not that any course could prepare you for politics in Yonkers, but I also have a master's in public administration. So I appreciate you coming out tonight, and I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Pagano?
Ask yourself one thing. Who do you want to fight for you when times get tough? Do you want somebody that's going to pass the buck? Do you want somebody that has to learn? I've been in the fights. I've went to Albany with mayors. Some of you received those letters. I stood shoulder to shoulder as a union leader and as a commissioner to bring money in from Albany. I am running to fight the fight. I am running to make life better in the city of Yonkers. I am concerned about your public safety. I am concerned about your children's education. If I wasn't, I'd be at Dunwoody playing golf. I see some of the other politicians shaking their head. Well, guess what? Give me the opportunity to represent you, and we'll see who shakes whose head.
I don't know about fighting, but I'm going to work. I'm going to work from day one. I've been working. I'm still working. I go home. I take care of whatever issues my neighbors have right now, and I'm going to take care of everything, you problems that you folks have, come January 1. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there at City Hall. I'm going to be working day and night to make sure that your tax dollars are used wisely. I'm going to make sure that you're not taxed out of the city of Yonkers. I'm going to make sure that you're not taxed out of anything, because I am tired about these tax rates. Because you know what? It's very nice to talk about wanting all these items here, but the bottom line is, listen to what people are saying. Read the resumes, hear what they're saying. Read all their profiles. We need the revenue. Where's the revenue going to come from to do all these prevailing wages and take care of all these things? Speaking on that issue, it's competitive work. If people want to work for $12 an hour, that's their prerogative. If somebody wants, they can negotiate up to $16 an hour. I don't believe in the minimum wage increasing. That's a negotiable thing. Thank you very much, and I ask you for your vote on November 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I just want to thank the candidates for coming out and participating in our candidate forum, and also we have refreshments in the back. And if you have any questions, the candidates, I'm sure, will stay around so you can answer and ask whatever it is sorry, one question, sir. It wouldn't be well, we asked the question with respect to Yonkers, IDA, and prevailing wage. So it would be a question to all three. It's not fair to specifically ask one candidate. Okay. So we will start with Mr. Moranti. What's your position with respect to union carpenters in Westchester? Okay.
I'm not sure I understand. So is it the prevailing wage question? Is you bring in union work?
We asked prevailing wage with respect.
What's that? Well, listen, right now, my stance is that everything should be competitive. Okay, so as far as prevailing wage is concerned, my position is we need to each development, each issue stands by itself, and it should be negotiated each on its own terms. So as far as the prevailing wage, I'm not going to turn around and say that it's mandatory for all situations. So I guess I'm not in favor. Like I said, I'm in favor of competitive bidding. That's what I'm in favor of. That's what makes the world go round. If we write competitive wages, we'd save a ton of money in a lot of issues. Okay, so that's my position. I'm here. I'm telling you, I believe in competitive bidding, and that's my position.
I believe you heard my position. I'm all for prevailing wages. Who here believes that we're going to save a lot of money? You know who's saving a lot of money? The guy building the building, not the taxpayer. The taxpayer's getting ripped off. The developer walks away with millions and millions of dollars. You think he's going to say to you, I really like you guys? Come on in, I'm going to give you $45 an hour? Come on, let's wake up. Let's wake up. Let's stop trying to fool you people. I'm not here to fool anybody. Prevailing wage is a must. And I don't know of many Republicans, Democrats, or independents that are against it, except for one of us.
I believe I said it before, but I'm a supporter of prevailing wage. As a union member for 19 and a half years, I know the good work that we do, that you do, and that we can work together with. And like I said, if the money was coming out of the taxpayer, that's one thing, but if it's coming out of the profits of the new business, that's another thing, and that's something we would have to look into.
Thank you. So the candidates are available now this evening, so if you have any other questions, you can feel free to ask them. And don't forget there's refreshments in the back. Thank you for attending.
Well, hello, everybody, real quick. I want to thank everybody for coming, but most of all, I want to thank Elena Goldberg Vasquez for putting this together.